Why does CNBC have this guy on instead of me? Come on.
The cult of Bitcoin make many claims that it's instant, free, scalable, efficient, secure, globally accepted, and useful. It is none of those things.
Actually, it is all of those things. As far as security, you can't beat Bitcoin. It hasn't been hacked in 10 years. You know, where you hear about thefts, you hold your own key. It cannot be hacked. If someone takes your key from you, you know, then you lose it. But they can't, digitally hack your money as long as you have your key. Now, if you leave your key with an exchange and someone breaks into the exchange, that's a security risk. Hold your own keys, hold them correctly, and you cannot beat the security. There's no financial instrument more secure than Bitcoin if you do it properly. Globally accepted, I mean, I think you could convert any currency into Bitcoin anywhere in the world. I don't know what his source is for saying it's not globally accepted, but it's all over the world and is useful. I mean, as a store of value, it's been doing great. Now, his other points here about instant, free, scalable, and efficient, there is a solution. I want to talk about it in a second. I'm going to let BK chime in here.
And this is coming from the former payments
Listen, PayPal works great, right? I mean, the Russian hackers were able to buy all kinds of ads on Google with PayPal this year, so it works very well. And I agree with you. All your criticisms, 100% correct. But to me, as the investor, I say those are catalysts for the future. As those things improve, I mean, we're not going to stay at 7 transactions per second. We're going to be able to scale. We have to. Otherwise, it is going to go to...
You know, so there is a scaling solution that launched in January. It sounds like these guys haven't heard of it. There's the Lightning Network, was worked on for 2 years, launched in January of 2018. This is a solution that brings instant, free, private, millions of transactions per second to Bitcoin. Now, it's launched, but it's super wonky. It's not that easy to use. It's still being built out. It's not ready for mass usage yet. But the solution is there, and it's just funny that they didn't mention it. Like, they don't even know about it? How is that possible?
Like you said. But I guess my question for you is, let's take a step back from the trading of the token, because what we're really looking there is this liquid venture capital, right? And it could be worth 6,000, could be worth 20. But the idea that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are a software program that allows you to disintermediate parts of financial services, do you find any value in that?
No. And
why?
Well, I think the problem statement is correct. For instance, one of the things that people who love Bitcoin or XRP or something like that is look at
watch out for this trick, because each cryptocurrency is its own thing. You know, when it comes to money, being money, Bitcoin doesn't have any competitors, and it's certainly its own thing. A lot of times, a trick that the naysayers do is they'll say, oh yeah, Bitcoin or XRP and this other shitcoin, you know, this other shitcoin does this or that, so these cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin isn't bad. I mean, isn't good. You see what I just did there? Oh, I'm talking about Bitcoin, but now I'm talking about a shitcoin, and so the shitcoin isn't good, and so Bitcoin isn't good. But the two are not related. XRP, Ripple is a for-profit company offering these payment solutions to banks. XRP is the currency on their network. May or may not be okay, you know, whatever. I'm not an investor in it. I've been, you know, I think Stellar is better than Ripple, whatever. But it's nothing like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a whole nother animal. There's no private company running it. It's a commodity with its fixed supply. It's got its features. It's different. So watch out when they start lumping them all together. Which coin are you talking about? What are we talking about here? I think we're talking about Bitcoin, and don't try to pretend XRP is the same thing.
how difficult it is to get money from one country across the border to another. It's slow, it's expensive, it's all those things. Agreed. You don't need Bitcoin, you don't need XRP, you don't need any of that to solve that problem. What you need is faster networks.
The networks are not slow. Networks are digital and they're not slow. The issue is that each bank has its own database, and for security purposes, they don't communicate with each other. And in many of the steps, there's a paper trail. So it can only be as fast as humans intermediating. I don't know that the existing system can get much faster than it is. You can't just make it. It's not about making networks faster. this is one of the problems that whether it's Bitcoin or other platforms or several are able to solve, which is having this open, decentralized platform where you can just zip payments around the world and everything communicates trust with trust. The problem now, the banks don't trust each other. They're not going to just open up their database to everybody. But with this technology, with cryptocurrencies, you can open up the trading books to everybody. All right?
Well, in fact, and there's some regulatory issue with that. But people are still using it for that case.
Hardly ever. I mean, this whole notion of broadly accepted, globally accepted, all of that, I dare you to find places where you can actually use it.
There's about 200,000 places you can use it worldwide.
Okay.
And there's also plenty of people that are using it internationally. I mean, Seagate Technology uses it to move money from their international subsidiaries to the US.
What percent?
And I know there's people who are like trying to live on Bitcoin. I've met some of these people. There are ways. There's things like you can buy an Amazon card. You actually get a discount when you buy this card with Bitcoin. You know, and there's a lot of solutions out there. Bitcoin is a store of value right now, so I don't really care about these being able to spend it at all. But there are ways to do it.
Of the total global flows is it?
Well, it's the investment opportunity, right? If it's a huge portion of the investment, if it's a huge portion of the global flows, it's less interesting to me. And when it's old and boring, it's less interesting.
Right. If you believe Bitcoin is money, we are very early in the adoption curve. And that's why we think it's going to 10x and then it's going to 10x again. Because we're early in the adoption curve. Once everybody has it, it's not going to be skyrocketing price. It's just going to be, you know, your stable, boring asset that holds its value.
So why in the world should people use it? What's the advantage?
The advantage? Well,
if you live in Turkey right now, what are you going to do? Maybe you can buy some gold. Maybe you know somebody who has dollars. I don't know. But if you have a phone and the internet, maybe you can buy some Bitcoin, right? If you were in Venezuela last year and you mined some Bitcoin, you probably did okay, right? There are use cases. And even in America, for me, you know, I've got stocks, I've got a house, you know, I have options. But I like to have another asset class that's uncorrelated. And when the next credit cycle comes, I know I'm not going to get diluted. I like that.
In the U.S., we don't really have a broken financial system. But if you're in a country that does have a broken financial system, that's certainly an advantage. There are other, it could be the internet of money if you're going across border. That's one way to use it. I mean, there's multiple
I'll actually point out that other major, the largest industries out there, the largest countries out there, China, now India, they have much better real-time payment systems than we do in the U.S. So does the EU, so does the UK. I mean, it's not like we've got something function and the rest of the world doesn't. No, actually, they're ahead of us.
You know, they do have these digital systems that are faster, but this revolution really is about having money that you don't need to trust. And so if you're in India, yeah, maybe they have a great payment system, it's digitized on your phone, and that's great. But you have to keep your money in the rupee or whatever their money is called. It's this depreciating, you know, inflation-infested currency. And China's currency's been going down. You know, you have to trust those federal authorities who are diluting you on a daily basis. And, you know, and digitally, Bitcoin and these other cryptocurrencies platforms, they're going to get there with the speed and being able to do everything on your phone. But, okay, I think I made my point.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that Bitcoin doesn't have a use case and goes to zero. I mean, nobody uses gold anymore and it's worth $1,200 an ounce as well. So, I mean, and there's more to this than...
You know, that's another point. Keep in mind, one of the uses for Bitcoin is as a base layer for the financial system, which right now is not just dollars, but U.S. Treasuries are the base layer that the banks hold as their main collateral from which they lend. Well, there's an argument that Bitcoin would be a better base layer than U.S. Treasuries. Well, that's a huge market, and you can't buy anything with U.S. Treasuries, yet they hold a lot of value.
Just this payment system globally, right? I mean, this is a way that you can have digital goods go from one place to the other. I mean, when they started at Amazon, nobody thought that you'd be streaming movies to a handheld computer. It was an online bookstore.
We've got digital currencies, and we've got digital currencies that are more stable, more widely accepted, and have intrinsic value. We've already got...
Actually, the Fed has said, the dollar doesn't have intrinsic value. It's its network value. It's because it's supported by the Fed and the government. That's its value. Even the Fed, I think it was St. Louis Fed, had a paper talking about there's no intrinsic value. And if you start thinking with this intrinsic value rabbit hole, like Facebook doesn't have intrinsic value. The value is because we all put our pictures and our information on there and spend our time looking. If everybody left, there would be no intrinsic value in the Facebook software. So,
It's called the dollar, the yen, you name it. There's really, it's as you say, not scalable. I mean, 7 transactions per second.
Scalable.
You said 7 transactions per second, which
but I didn't say it wasn't scalable.
Well,
they're working on scaling solutions.
Fine, they're working on that.
Well, that's
7
the
transactions per second. Transaction per second. Visa does 50,000. Alipay does 250,000.
Eventually these cryptocurrency networks are going to be able to do what Visa does on their little pinky with one hand tied behind their back. They're already talking about, there's, like I said, Lightning Network, 1 million transactions a second. There's these other platforms. OMG has been talking about their trustless exchange. We'll be able to do millions of transactions per second. That's coming. Don't worry. It's all digital. It's going to be way faster than what we have now. Right now, it can't handle that volume, but that volume isn't there either. It'll be amazing. They'll be able to do 1 million transactions per second. The question is, can they get 1 million transactions? That's the challenge. Technically, it's going to be fast and way more efficient than Visa.
There's coins out there now that'll do 10,000 and 20,000. I mean, this is the investment opportunity. I'm surprised, coming from Silicon Valley, that you're not seeing the investment opportunity.
Yes, I believe there's a heck of a lot of investment opportunity within financial technology. I've been doing financial technology for 25 years.
Right.
But what we do is we build things that are useful, that are better than the alternatives. And I see absolutely no reason why Bitcoin is useful. I mean, listen, its volatility alone makes it useless as a payment mechanism and ridiculous as a store of value.
But again,
volatility is a problem for payments, to just go out and buy things. But like I said, that's not what Bitcoin's all about right now. It's a store of value. If you're store of value, that means you don't sell it. I'm just holding it. It's a 5-year hold. So I don't know. When I bought some in 2014, it was $300. Great. Last year at this time, it was $4,000. Today it's $6,000. I don't know. It looks pretty good to me. Looks like it's working as a store of value. Oh, but it's moved up and down a lot in between all those dates you just talked about. Really? Okay, whatever. I don't know. Is it going to be higher next year? Yeah. Good. Maybe it's going to go way higher and then lower and then higher, but if next year at this time it's higher, I'm happy. Volatility doesn't matter if you're a long-term holder. All right, listen. The point of this is why am I not on CNBC and these guys are? Right? So do me a favor. Post this on social, tweet to CNBC, and tell them to call me up, will you? Thank you.